What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all doing well. Today we are going to be taking an interesting look at the Ryzen 1700 up against the 7700K in ultra-wide benchmarks at 3440 by 1440, which is a resolution I've recently adopted at my main display, and I even just got another ultra-wide monitor for my secondary display, so it's something that really interests me, and it's been quite a while since we've actually tested Ryzen 1700 versus the 7700K. It was all the way back at launch in March of Ryzen 7, the last time I did any testing with these CPUs in a head-to-head comparison. So today we'll be focusing on ultra-wide to see how much of having the higher resolution can kind of close the gap between these two processors, being that it is going to be much more GPU-bound as you increase resolution. We've talked about that in other videos. If you, of course, run them at like 720p on low, you're going to see a pretty big difference between the 1700 and 7700K. But as the resolution goes up, that gap narrows quite a bit. So we'll be using those two CPUs here paired up with the GTX 1080. Now, as far as overclocking is concerned, I did overclock both CPUs, but I didn't bring them to the highest limit that I can get them to. Usually I can get my 7700K to 5 gigahertz and the 1700 to 4 gigahertz, but I wanted to put them at numbers that I thought most people buying these CPUs could get if they purchased them. So for that reason, on the 7700K, I settled at 4.8 gigahertz, while on the Ryzen 1700, I went to 3.9 gigahertz, and both of them actually happen to be using the same voltage of 1.35 volts. So those should be overclocks that most people could hit on these CPUs. For the RAM, I was using 16 gigabytes, both at 2933 megahertz. One was a Corsair kit, and the other was G-Skill, but they were both at the same speed of 2933 megahertz. On the GTX 1080, which was using the latest NVIDIA driver, 385.12, I also had that overclocked with an additional 200 megahertz on the core and 300 megahertz on the memory. And we really did see some rather interesting results. I did expect this gap to narrow, but I really didn't expect it to get as close as it did. And in some cases, I should say one case, the Ryzen 1700 actually even beat out the 7700K, which was on Rainbow Six Siege. That ended up getting an average of 100 versus 91 on the 7700K, which that game really does utilize all of the threads. So in that particular game, you can really see the benefit there taking over on Ryzen 1700. So even though the 7700K is clocked higher at 4.8 gigahertz, then the Ryzen 1700 at 3.9 gigahertz, it still lost out because that game is actually built very well to take advantage of all of the cores and threads that you can throw at it. Another title that ran really close was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which just recently actually got an update to take advantage of CPUs with 6 cores or higher. I remember testing that game right back at launch, and it was heavily relying on a single thread, but now with the optimization for 6 cores and up, the game is just running so much better than it used to be. I remember when I used to jump out of the plane, it would run like 30 FPS, even on a 1080 Ti at 1440p, and now I'm regularly playing on my 1080 Ti and getting like 80 to 90 FPS anytime when I'm running around in this game. So in that game, it got really close as well, only 2 FPS difference in the averages. So really nice to see that even in early access, they're starting to optimize Battlegrounds really well, and it's just getting better day by day. They recently introduced the first person first person supports. You can actually launch in first person, which is really nice to see. I'm actually enjoying that quite a bit. But let's get into the average FPS now, and then we will take a look at the 1% lows. You can see here that in pretty much all of these games, it's getting really close, neck and neck in a lot of these titles at this resolution on the high preset. Battlefield 1, we could see that Ryzen 1700 did fall behind by 5 FPS, and in the recently released Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, it did lose by 6 FPS. Metro Last Light Redux, again, losing by 5 FPS. Prey got really close, but we do know that game is optimized for AMD and AMD cards as well as Ryzen CPUs, and that was only a difference of 1 FPS there in the average, so kind of within the margin of error. And this will be interesting to see as more titles come out in the future, not necessarily if they're optimized for one side or the other, but really just optimized to take advantage of more threads in multi-threaded gaming and stuff like that. And you could see that with Rainbow Six Siege, where Ryzen 1700 won. Prey, it's a difference of 1 FPS. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, only losing by 2 FPS, and those are all titles that are optimized well to take advantage of as many threads as you can throw at it. And this makes me really optimistic going into the future for like the 2nd and 3rd gen Ryzen, when we start to see those CPUs maybe getting higher clock speeds if they improve on power efficiency and all of that. And maybe we could start to see those CPUs regularly hitting 4.2, maybe even 4.5 gigahertz at some point in the future. Will be really awesome to see how those stack up against what Intel's putting out at that time. Architecturally, even though the Intel CPUs can run a fair bit higher in clock speed, when the titles are optimized well, it is certainly taking advantage of Ryzen and putting it to good use. Going into the 1% lows now here, you can see that the i7 7700K did take a clean sweep across the board. It was very close in games like Prey, Rainbow Six Siege, Sniper Elite 4, Battlegrounds once again, The Division. Actually, all of these were pretty close except for Battlefield 1, Hellblade, and Metro Last Light. But the other games all here very, very close within just a few FPS. So really taking a look at all of these numbers, what I'm led to believe is if you are going to be pushing higher resolutions between 1700 and 7700K, it's basically a wash. It's almost a tie. The 7700K is winning out in most of the titles, but it's so close that if I'm sitting there on the fence trying to pick out one of these CPUs, I'm probably going to lean towards the 1700 because I'd rather be set up for the future, where I would hope that more titles coming out are going to take advantage of the cores and threads that Ryzen has to offer. And not only that, you can actually find the 1700 for around $300, so cheaper than the 7700K, and it actually runs a bit cooler as well. It's only got a 65 watt TDP on the Ryzen 1700. I've said this in the past, there's really no reason at all to buy a 1700X or an 1800X if you are planning to overclock. My 1700 can hit 4 gigahertz, no sweat whatsoever, and I keep it on water and it runs very cool, under 60 degrees pretty much all the time. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. As always, I look forward to your feedback down below if you're looking to pick up one of these processors, or maybe you already own one. If you are still in the market and you're trying to choose between the Ryzen 1700 or the 7700K for higher resolution gaming like ultra-wide or 4K as well, I would expect to have very similar results to what we saw here today. Actually, the gap would probably be narrowed even more, as that's a higher pixel throughput, so you're becoming more GPU bound as you increase the resolution even more there. But right now over on Amazon, the Ryzen 1700 is actually priced at $290. So that's down $40 from what it came out at $329. And the Intel 7700K has also saw a price reduction. My thought is that's probably to respond to the Ryzen 1700 and what it's doing in the market, and the fact that it is also selling for cheaper than what it came out at launch at. And the 7700K is at $307, down from $350 what it launched at. So this is just really good news, I think, for enthusiasts and gamers out there in general that want to build high-end PCs but don't want to spend a fortune. I mean, these are still pretty pricey as far as CPUs are concerned, but it's just insane seeing the pricing. The pricing battle has begun between Intel and AMD. They are both, this is what Ryzen was really all about. This is why I was excited about it before it came out, and this is why I'm still excited about it today, because without Ryzen in the market, do you really think Intel would have been dropping the price on their CPU by over $40 just not that long after it's been out now? I don't think so. You can let me know your thoughts, though, down in the comments below. I look forward to your feedback and our discussion, as always. And yeah, if you want links to where you could pick up the Ryzen 1700 or the 7700K, I will leave links over to Amazon, which does help to support my channel. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like on it down below and subscribe if you're not already. And if you have been here for a while, you can always hit that notification bell to find out when I'm uploading new videos like this one. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.